I want to talk about sex, for example. Like, this is something that one would imagine would be an entirely intuitive thing that you would have a natural process by which the human animal at puberty develops sexual desires, seeks them out. In previous centuries, in previous millennia, kids were married and having kids in their teens quite routinely. Now, this flight from actual physical interaction, is this a function of online life? Is it a function of online pornography, especially with men? Is that making sex seem sort of an impossible fantasy as opposed to something you could start out with the basics?
Yeah, so in two different questions, I do think that well, let's back up. Teens do have less time with their friends and peers face to face than they used to.
Hmm.
So that's got to be part of it.
What's the phone?
That they're just simply spending less time in each other's presence. And they're communicating much more online and on social media. So that's the first part. Then there's the next piece of, well, is it online pornography? That part is harder to quantify and to trot out because people who watch online pornography tend to have more sex in real life, not less.
Huh.
But as online pornography has increased, at least sex among teenagers and young adults actually too, has gone down. So you have somewhat conflicting stories depending on what level of analysis you're using.
To my mind, it's that when I was discovering sex, I had to make it all up for myself. I had to use my own imagination. There was much less education about sex when we were younger, much less talk about it. And so you felt like you were pioneering things. You were discovering exciting new stuff. Now it seems that they've already know every single possible position, every single possible fantasy, and have also internalized this hookup culture in a way that sex is not about marriage and children. It is fundamentally about fun to begin with. But then it comes laden with that generation with all sorts of terrors and fears of violation, of harassment, of abuse. Is there a difference between boys and girls on this question?
Well, I mean, the decline has been very similar for both boys and girls. For the last book for iGen, I did some interviews and tried to gather some first person sources on this about why it might have declined. I think a lot of it does have to do with that slow life strategy and teens not spending time with each other in person. But I agree that fear is in there too. I kept seeing that mentioned in a way that I think just didn't happen in previous decades, of associating sexuality with that possibility of sexual assault and physical danger. And yes, those are real fears. Those are real things that happen. But the way people assess risk, I think, has changed a lot. And iGen or Gen Z is just very, very focused on safety